Something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
And welcome to it as we kick off another brand new hour here and another brand new day of the Steve Gruber Show, fighting for you from the foxhole freedom of frigid foxhole freedom. We were without power about 4 times yesterday. Nice work, DTE. Anyhow, lots of work to do here today. We got the lights on, and we have a generator just in case of emergency. Here are the 3 big things you need to know. Number 1, Charlie Kirk, by far the number 1 thing searched on Google in 2025. How sad is that? Guy has to be executed in public to be heard by hundreds of millions. Read the new book, by the way, Stop in the Name of God. I'm halfway through it. What a great book. Number 2, President Trump met with Bibi Netanyahu on Monday at Mar-a-Lago. Issued stern warnings to Iran and Hamas, among others, and says both will not do well if they keep pushing the directions they're going. All right. And number 3, the Minnesota fraud storm. It's become a firestorm around Governor Tim Walz. But we know it's not limited to Minneapolis, friends. It could be the beginning of the end of decades of Democrat control in the state of Minnesota. The bluest of blue states Minnesota is. Hasn't voted for a Republican. Heck, I can't even remember when. Maybe 1968? Right. They've been warned for years about the fraud. Billions and billions of dollars. But it wasn't until a YouTuber went from daycare to daycare and put a video out that's been seen by 100+ million people now. He went from daycare to daycare and a host of other seemingly fraudulent businesses taking hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars to find the truth about the massive fraud and tell the world. There really should be some kind of reward and award for Nick Shirley for tearing back the curtain and exposing it all. I mean, it went mega viral, and it should. So here's the guy that he interviewed, all right? There's a guy that went around who's done all this research for years now. He is the foundation of the massive fraud primarily originating in the Somali community in Minneapolis. Here's the background. Again, listen.
Massive fraud is going on here in the state of Minnesota, especially in Minneapolis. Explain to me what's going on with the daycares.
So one of the things that I've noticed is there's an exceptional number of child care centers that are set up mostly in Minneapolis, but also in St. Paul. And I said, wow, how many kids are there in the Twin Cities? Some of them are by my office, and I would watch, and I said, well, there aren't any kids there. And I go to another one, there aren't any kids there, and I'd see just some Somali guys outside smoking cigarettes. So I stopped at one of them, and I said, hey, I'm just wondering, I've got a grandson who's looking for childcare, and I wonder if this might be a good facility. And they said, no, we're all full. And they had the door open, and I looked, and there were no kids. There was like a couch and a table with a couple chairs, and I said, well, are the kids out back playing, or what kind of place is this? And the guy said, you go, and he almost pushed me out the door, and then he followed me down the street to my car, and that's when I said, wait a minute, there's something going on here, and that's got to be maybe 5 years ago. This fraud is so massive. When the dust settles on this, it's going to be found to be the largest fraud in the history of the country and probably the world. It's that big. The ones that I've gotten data on, they average about $2.5 million a year, and a lot of them will say they have anywhere from 80 to 120 children. I've been to literally 40 or 50 of these childcare, and there never has been a single child at any one of them ever. Morning, afternoon, evening. Some of them say they're open till 10 o'clock at night. I go there in the morning, I go there in the afternoon, I go there at 9 o'clock at night. Nobody, there are no kids there ever.
So who's going to be held accountable? There's no kids there ever. It's not just daycares. It's anything they can think up. Daycare, autism centers, healthcare providers, whatever they can throw up on a shingle and throw up on a door. It's massive. And it's not isolated. It's not isolated to Minneapolis. James Comer says he's holding hearings as soon as possible on the massive fraud in Minnesota. He wants to hold people accountable. He should. Listen to this.
State employees also allege that they had warned both Governor Walz and Attorney General Ellison for years that this fraud was occurring, and yet nothing was taking place. So we're going to bring the state employees in. We're going to get their sworn testimony. We appreciate their bravery in coming forward. We're also going to bring in state lawmakers and Minnesota mayors, because the walls are caving in on Tim Walz. This massive amount of fraud is affecting and impacting every citizen of Minnesota, because they're having to cut services because so much of the money for social programs was wasted and defrauded by this Somali population. So these are the people we're going to bring in. We're going to try to identify who was responsible for this. We're going to try to identify banks that we can subpoena their bank records so we can follow the money to see how much was taken, who took it, and then who do we need to hold accountable, and hopefully we'll have some criminal referrals at the end of the investigation.
Well, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Because the one thing as we close 2025 that I can say resonates with you, with me, with millions of people is, where are the indictments? Where are the indictments in 2025? Pam Bondi, where are they? We've got criminal activity with an open border. We know it. We've got people that don't show up for subpoenas. That's obvious. We've got people who flout their power and give the middle finger directly to the American government and therefore the American people, because even though there's been a lot of change, it still is a government of the people and by the people. And when these people give us the finger, which is what they're doing, they need to be held accountable. No more excuses, no more dragging your feet, no more blathering nonsense. Get your ass to work and hold these people accountable. And how do we know Tim Walz is accountable? Because he bragged about it. He bragged about it 2 years ago, 3 years ago. He was bragging about how Minnesota was the home to more refugees than any other state. This is the middle. This is years into the fraud, years into it. He thinks having 50 different languages in the public school is a good thing. It's a terrible thing. Assimilate or go home. Here's Tim Walz bragging about what he did to Minnesota. Listen.
We're a state of immigrants that values that. We have more refugees per capita than any other state. That's not just morally a good thing. It's our economic and cultural future. This beautiful diversity we see out in Worthington when I'm there, you see 50 languages spoken in the school, and you see every storefront filled with different types of foods, different types of businesses that are happening. Minnesota needs to continue to do that. The office of governor can set the tone on that. We're going to continue to need to diversify. We're going to have to put policies in place that make sure we're attracting teachers of color so that students of color have someone that
Enough
they understand.
of him. Shut him up. Enough. Blathering moron. Apparently, Somalia is the cultural future of Minnesota, according to that dweeb. I had to be careful there. Let me tell you something. Tim Walz should resign in disgrace today. Don't wait another minute, Governor. You're an embarrassment to yourself, to your state, and to this country. I'll take a break and be right back. All right, so let me just explain to you how complicit Governor Walz truly is when it comes to submitting, to surrendering to the invasion of Somalians into Minneapolis and elsewhere, and how beholden he is to the Somalians because he wants their votes. And God only knows if some of this money comes into these daycares, how much goes back out to campaign donations to people like Tim Walz. Well, they went so far as to change the flag of Minnesota, if you missed it. I want you to look at this. The top flag is the flag of Somalia. The bottom flag is the new flag of Minnesota. Looks similar to you? Weird. It looks nothing like the old flag of Minnesota, by the way. There it is, the Somali flag up top, the new Minnesota flag down below. Are you kidding me? Maybe they should just raise a white flag in Minneapolis and St. Paul and say, we lost. How about that for an idea? Meanwhile, Minnesota Congressman Tom Emmer says prosecuting Governor Tim Walz is not off the table. Here he is.
I do, but here's the difference. In Minnesota, this has been going on for years. I told you, we've known about the daycare fraud for the past decade. We've been trying to sound the alarm on the rest of the fraud for the last 3 years, and it wasn't until President Trump, who I'm very grateful for him actually saying something about it, made this a national story that people started paying attention. And here's the difference. Minnesota, it's apparently a business. Whistleblowers are coming forward, and if they are real, Mike, and if what they're saying can be documented, and what they're saying is they told Tim Walz, they told Keith Ellison about the fraud when it was happening, and they not only didn't do anything, they retaliated against them. Mike, if that's true, if that can be documented, these guys need to be prosecuted, held accountable, and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And the other difference here is the taxpayer dollars in Minnesota, billions were being shipped overseas to a known terrorist group, Al-Shabaab, back in Somalia. So this is much bigger in Minnesota. I do not disagree with Governor Braun that it probably is happening elsewhere as well.
It's happening all over this country. I guarantee you. I already know it's happening in Maine because reports have been coming up there. But look at what the Democrats do. Billions of fraud in Minnesota. Tens of billions in California, cooking the crime books in Washington, D.C. What's happening in Maine? It's happening primarily in deep, dark blue states, sanctuary cities. Oh, come on in. Oh, here's your debit card. Here's your smartphone. Here's the keys to your new car. Oh, you need an apartment? Here's a key to your new apartment. Oh, you need food. Here's sacks of food. They're gaming the system. They're fleecing America. They're robbing the American taxpayer while veterans and other actual Americans will live on the streets tonight. And until somebody goes to jail in Minnesota, California, Maine, or anywhere, until somebody is held accountable, this is not going to stop. We start with Tim Walz. Governor, resign or be prosecuted. That has to be the message. That is the only message. Resign or be prosecuted, Governor. Along with your Attorney General. Along with the people that oversee daycare and health care and autism centers and all of it. And I'm not the only one that thinks it's going on everywhere. My good friend and senator from Wisconsin, Ron Johnson, says it's happening all over the country. Listen.
Well, first of all, we need to put all kinds of pressure on the state agencies to give us their records. Now, I'm chairman of the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations. This will be a primary focus of ours. We're already reaching out to Nick Shirley and David and other people who can provide testimony for this, but we also need documents. So, these agency heads who funnel the federal money to the state agencies, they have to demand that the state agencies are transparent. And unfortunately, particularly in Democrat-controlled states, they're not. They're refusing to turn over those records. I've got subpoena power. I will use that subpoena power to obtain these records because we have to get to the bottom of this. Understand, Somalis have just been in this country a few years. They're amateurs when it comes to fleecing the federal government. And let's face it, the federal government is probably the easiest consumer, the easiest payer to fleece, and states do it time and time again. So this is just the tip of the iceberg.
The taxpayer is the mark because the government, as the senator pointed out, is the easiest mark of all. The easiest mark of all is the government. And the bigger the government, the easier it is to get lost in the gray areas. Oh, let's just send in, we've got 104 kids here. Let's see, mark that down as $1.7 million. We've got 99 kids over here. Well, let's rank that as $1.4 million. Who the hell's keeping the checkbook? Who in the hell is keeping the checkbook? That person, that agency. Drag them in front of the committee as well. It's time for real answers. It's time for Americans to know where the hell the money is going. And they've known about it for years. Years. What'd they do? They changed their flag. What did they do? They celebrated 50 languages in the local school district. That's not assimilation. That's an invasion. It's not racist. It's not xenophobic. It's ridiculous. You know how hard it is when you have two languages in a school? English is a second language. How about English as a 25th language? It doesn't work, people. English should be the official language of America. You can speak any language you want at home. People do. I support that. It's perfectly fine. Celebrate your culture. I love that. But celebrate America first. Any hyphenated American is no American at all, said Teddy Roosevelt. Boy, was he right. You're either an American or you're not. I'm not a German American. I'm an American. I'm proud of it and willing to fight for it every single day sitting here with you. Every single day. No different in 2026. I will sit right here and tell you the truth. And the truth is Minnesota needs to be the test case. Hold somebody accountable. Make an example of Minnesota so that other people like Maine, California, and elsewhere know that there will be a real price to pay if you screw the American people. Let that marinate. Send me an email at stevegruber.com. I'll be back. All right, I got this. I mentioned this off the top. Little aside here for just a moment until I bring in Grover Norquist to talk about tax relief in America. We're also going to ask him about taxpayers getting screwed by fraud all over this country, coming up in a moment. But Charlie Kirk was the #1 search in 2025 on Google. No surprise. His tragic assassination on the 10th of September garnered more searches, more people. And I said that the day of the assassination. I said more people hear Charlie Kirk tomorrow in death than ever heard him alive. Sad but true. Sad but true. So Charlie Kirk was the #1 search of the year. Assassinated, we're told, by Tyler Robinson. Second for searches was One Big Beautiful Bill. Then #3 was searches on the government shutdown for 43 days. Americans don't like a shutdown. Democrats are going to try to deliver one next month at the end of January. Look, they can't slow down the economy. 4.3% GDP, 2.7% inflation. Markets setting all-time records. We'll see Dow 50,000 in 2026 almost for sure. Almost for sure. Anyhow, keep yourself healthy in 26. Chagas disease is on the rise, a rare bug spreading a serious parasite. Most people don't even know about it until they've been bitten. Chagas disease spread by the kissing bug, long considered a distant problem, but cases have been detected in the U.S., in California, Texas, Arizona, and elsewhere. Early signs such as fever, rash, fatigue, swollen lymph nodes may seem mild, but over time can bring severe damage to your heart and digestive dysfunction. Not to fear, the wellness company's Parasite Cleanse compound of ivermectin mebendazole is a solution. I did the protocol. Easy to do, 21 days. Ivermectin paralyzes and kills parasites, disrupting their nervous systems. Mebendazole starves them by blocking glucose absorption. It's all part of what the wellness company offers you. Each kit prescribed by doctors, compounded in the United States and tested for potency. Fill out a quick intake form, get a bottle of 90 capsules, 4 cycles, shipped straight to your door. Just go to twc.health/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber to save $60 and get free shipping. Start off the new year right. twc.health/Gruber. Save $60 and get free shipping. Do it now. I'll be back with Grover Norquist. $2025 turned out to be a good year for taxpayers, for you. You're going to find out come the first quarter of 2026 when you start seeing refunds. Some as high as $20,000, we're told. But when taxpayers are being fleeced by people coming into this country, newcomers really, I mean, the Somalis haven't been here very long, and yet they are the epicenter of fraud in Minneapolis, in Maine, and elsewhere, but it's not just them. As the senator from Wisconsin, Ron Johnson, pointed out just moments ago, it's rampant across this country. Join me now, Grover Norquist, Americans for Tax Reform. He's the president there. Grover, nice to see you.
Hey, Steve. Good to be with you.
Look, what is your reaction to this? This has been going on for years and years and years. And some YouTuber, and I give him great credit, he deserves an award and a reward for finally exposing it, get 125 million views or whatever it's at now, and exposing it for what it is. A kid who's 23 years old walks around with his smartphone and can expose it for what it is, and yet CNN, NBC, ABC, the New York Times, Washington Post, everybody else missed it. Come on. Your thoughts?
It is amazing. The establishment press is part of the establishment, and the establishment likes to send out checks to people to buy friends for the left. And the press is not going to get in the way of that, or the establishment press is not going to, which is why that effort by that young man is so amazing. And I hope he spawns dozens and dozens of imitators and people who build on that lesson. This is a major problem. Even the government's own studies suggest 15-20% fraud across the board when they were sending out checks for COVID stuff. The investigations into that found that people sending in online and getting okays were wearing masks sometimes.
Well, and here's another part of the story that nobody's focused on in Minnesota. First of all, anybody could get a driver's license. Anybody. Once you got the driver's license, you could vote. And once you could vote, you could vouch for 8 other people. In Minnesota, with no paperwork, you could vouch for 8 other people to go to the polling place and cast a ballot. You're going to tell me with a straight face, the Democrats in Minneapolis, oh, there's no voter fraud here. Please.
Yeah. Now, we need to stay on this issue and talk about it again and again. We need to change the rules, both regulatory and the laws, to make sure that this level of fraud, this level of theft doesn't continue.
Right.
And yes, this is against the law. It is stealing, and people ought to be in prison for it, including governors who allow
governors
this
that
to
are
happen.
complicit. Walz has to be held accountable. He needs to be charged. He needs to be, impeached from his position if he won't resign in shame, which he should have done yesterday or the day before. That's the way that is. All right, so let's look to something more positive, shall we? The tax reform of the big, beautiful bill, people are going to see the windfall from that starting January of 26 in tax returns. Tax policy in America has improved dramatically. The stock market took notice. The economy, 2.7% inflation, 4.3% GDP. The market is going to hit 50,000 in 26. It's almost a certainty. I mean, things are looking pretty good, Grover, when it comes to tax policy in America compared to previous years. Your thoughts?
It is, and this is the beginning. We did several things in the big, beautiful bill. So many things that I think sometimes we don't keep track of them. One, if the big, beautiful bill had not passed, there would have been a $4 trillion tax increase every decade on the American people. The Democrats all voted for a $4 trillion tax increase. The Republicans said, no, we're going to keep the tax cuts from the original Republican tax bill and make it permanent. No more of this, oh, here's tax cuts for 5 years. Here's tax cuts for 10 years. Try and be a businessman and build a factory that you hope is around for 50 to 70 years, knowing what the tax policy is for the next 5 years. I mean, you need to know permanent, and that's one of the big changes that took place. But add to that, the per-child tax credit went up, the standard deduction went up, the no tax on tips for the first $25,000 of tips. And again, it's not just waiters and waitresses, the entire gig economy. More than 10, 15 million people in that economy often work off of tips. DoorDash, all of the Uber, all of these individuals. So it's a huge
So let me ask you about that, Grover. Let me ask you about that specific thing, because some states are intervening and saying, no, we're going to tax your tips anyway. And the people are outraged on social media in places like New York. Can they do that?
Well, a lot of states say, whatever the feds do, we just want 10% of it, okay? So whatever the federal law is, we'll adopt that, and we just want our percentage of what the feds have. Others say, no, we have a completely different code, which is not a lot of fun if you have to do 2 completely different tax systems, but yes, even the ones who had conformity to the federal program, the Democrats are stepping up. Why on tax on tips? Why is that? It's not that much money. Well, it's not. It's a lot of money for individuals. The real reason is labor unions cannot force you to join a union in an industry where people work off of tips, because that every individual knows I earn what I make, and the guy over there may not work as much as me. I don't want to be tied to him. And unions only have this one size fits all, everybody gets paid the same. Well, if you've ever met a bartender or a waiter or anybody in the service industry, they're not all the same. And there's some really good ones that get good tips, and there's some guys that are just passing the time of day that aren't. And when you have an assembly line and everybody's paid exactly the same, everybody gets paid as much as the worst worker. And that is not something that the new modern gig economy wants to tolerate. Independent contractors want to be rewarded for what they do. And the unions are trying to kill tips because it allows you to make more money if you work more, and you can't be attached to some other guy who happens to be the cousin of the union boss.
Right, exactly true. And so you look at things like waiters and waitresses, Uber drivers, any of that sort of thing, where people, if you drive for 12 hours a day, you make more than somebody that works 6 hours a day. Pretty simple math. You know, that's the way that is. If you want to work hard in America, there should be a path towards creating and building wealth. And the unions hate that. Democrats hate that. They want to attach themselves like a parasite to the paycheck. I mean, that's always been true. But thankfully, the big, beautiful bill breaks free of that. What do you see for 26? I mean, I see the Dow going to 50,000. I'm seeing hopeful things. I am concerned about the devaluation of the dollar. That concerns me. But what do you see as a general forecast, Grover, for the next year?
I think the most important thing is the strength of the modern Republican Party looking forward to the November election. If the markets, if people look and say, looks like the Republicans will hold the House and Senate, the stock market's going to take off. If they think the Democrats are going to take a hold of the House and or the Senate and tube the economy, that will be a problem now, not after it happens. So it's very important that the Republicans get out there, every candidate get out there and make the case, here's why I'm going to win. And we need to go to all these governors that have allowed this theft, like in Minnesota. Fascinating that the Democrats chose the most corrupt governor as their vice presidential candidate. The guy who showed all the other Democratic governors how do you steal money from taxpayers and hand it to people who are going to vote for you in order to win elections.
Well, with that in mind, Grover, one has to wonder if that wasn't the intention of Kamala Harris, who we know paid bail for people who had burned down Minneapolis in the first place. I'll let people ponder that question and say, did they have a plan in mind to take this national? I'll let them ponder that. I'll leave it there for today because I'm out of time. Grover, let you think about it as well. Happy New Year, my friend.
Happy New Year to you, Steve.
There you have it. A lot of very positive things, and we have to hold these people accountable, period. How about your health in 26? Let's talk about it after the break on The Steve Gruber Show. right. I've been doing ice plunges. I've been doing the sauna. I've been working out. Lost a little bit of weight. Feel pretty good about it. One of the keys to that, though, is to make sure your nutrition is exactly right. A complete nutrition shake comes from my friends at Longevity. They put it all in one place. It's got protein. It's got colostrum. It's got omega-3s. It's got it all. And it really has helped me to feel great. Same thing for my teenager. Same thing for my wife. And joining me now is Joe Reek, the Vice President of Sales at Longevity. New product here in the last few weeks. And Joe, man, I'm telling you, I take this every day. Hope you had a great Christmas. We're looking forward to a great 2026, only a couple of days away now. And I think longevity is one of the keys to my success going forward in 26. Should be for others as well. Welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, and Merry Christmas to you, and looking forward to this exciting new year. You know, as we sit down and kind of get our New Year's resolutions, health should be on the top of everybody's list. And what we can do to help you out here at Longevity is to provide a whole body nutrition drink. So this is a drink that you can take daily. It's going to provide you with protein, 25 grams of protein, 15 grams of collagen for muscle repair, for joints and tendons, for your hair, your skin, your nails. There's also going to be DHA and omega-3 oils for brain health. And we've talked a lot about DHA and the benefits of having DHA, especially in seniors. You know, as they have higher levels of DHA in their body, it actually prevents the onset of dementia and Alzheimer's. We've also have probiotics for gut health to clean out all the junk inside of your system, get rid of that excess crap inside of your body. There's also 22 natural vitamins and minerals, all made from bioavailable sources. And that is really, really big, Steve, because there are so many products out there that have synthetic oils and synthetic vitamins. And the problem with that, though, is that it just doesn't give your body exactly what it needs. In fact, all of our vitamins and minerals inside of Longevity, it comes from bioavailable foods. And what I'm talking about is this is actual plants. So it's not made in a lab. It's not made in a factory. It's made in a garden. In fact, when you read here, part of that mineral blend, there's broccoli, spinach, kale, sweet potato, maitake mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms, all bioavailable real food inside of Longevity, inside of the Longevity pouch. And there's also bovine colostrum. In fact, during this cold season, the winter season, we tend to get a little bit more sick. Well, the bovine colostrum is going to boost up your immunity to help prevent you from getting sick. And so all of this is inside a one drink mix. So this is your whole body nutrition in one single drink that you can take every single day to start feeling good for 2026.
Well, I got to be honest. We started with this, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, whatever it's been now. And I started doing something here recently. And I'm 60 years old and past 60 now. So, you know, you start to slow down. Wrong. I'm getting fitted for new ski boots because I'm going out on the slopes with the kids. And here's something I've been doing lately, Joe. I've been running up the stairs for the first time. I don't even remember when. Running up the stairs like I was 20 years younger. It feels great. Longevity Wellness has been a big part of that success story. There's no question in my mind about it. My kid uses it when he goes to play football or basketball. Ivy uses it post-workout. I use it every day because of that whole list of great ingredients you're talking about it. And so for me, I mean, when I start running up the stairs, I'm thinking, man, that longevity is pretty cool. I'm being serious.
No, that's exactly what it does. In fact, I was talking with a customer who placed an order the other week. Her name's Janet. I actually believe she lives in Michigan, and she's a huge fan of your program, Steve. She wanted me to tell you hello. But Janet was telling me that her and her husband are taking, they're kind of in their later years. I think they're around 70 or so. And she was telling me that her husband has the most energy that he's had in a long time. And it's all due to the fact that he's taking care of himself and taking care of his body with longevity. Right. And it's those types of stories that we get weekly is that it does help. It helps people feel better. It gives you the energy that you need. It's making your body function more properly. And when you're feeling good, life is good, Steve. And that's what we do here at Longevity. Yeah, absolutely.
You're exactly right. And look, me running up the stairs, and Ivy's like, you're running up the stairs. I'm like, yeah, babe, I am. And I feel good. And it's, look, I didn't change much in the last 3 or 4 months, except I started using Longevity. And all of a sudden I got pep in my step. I got more energy. I feel better. I've lost a few pounds. Look, it's all working pretty well for me. And you've got a special offer today. I want to get to that because this is a big deal as we head into the new year. If you've been looking at this program and you've seen Joe talk about this product and you haven't bought it, I'll just say you should. And you've got a real special promo for the folks.
Yeah, right now, Steve, whenever you go to longevitywellness.co and you type in Gruber as the promo code, you've been getting up to 25% off longevity. Well, right now, starting today through January 1st, we are going to give you an additional 10% off to help kick in the new year. So starting today, when you go to longevitywellness.co and you type in your promo code Gruber at the end, you're going to get 35% off your entire order. It also includes that on our subscription-based orders as well. So we actually have a subscription program, which is phenomenal, that a lot of viewers are taking advantage of. Is they'll sign up for our subscription plan. And what that means is every 30 days, we're going to automatically send you out a new pouch of Longevity Wellness. So that way you can continue taking care of your body with the great tasting shake that we have. And again,
That's
the beautiful thing about this, Steve, is that you can add it to milk, you can add it to water, you can put it in your smoothies, you can put it in your applesauce, you can do whatever you want to with it. It's very, very versatile, and it really does help out a lot of people with better nutrition. And I forgot to mention this too. For those who are on GLP-1s or even like semaglutides, when you don't feel that urge to eat, you still need to have that nutrition. Longevity is the perfect supplement to that, to make sure that your body is getting fueled properly, that you're getting the proteins, that you're getting the collagen, that you're getting the vitamins and minerals. So all of that it's in your one-stop shake mix of Longevity Wellness. And again, it's simple to do. It tastes phenomenal. And it really is an amazing product.
Now, I can't guarantee you run up the stairs, but you just might. Longevitywellness.co, and for the next 48 hours, 35% off by using the promo code Gruber. Joe, I want you to have a happy new year. I'm going to, and longevity is a big part of 2026 for me. Sir, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Happy New Year, Steve. We look forward to a healthy and happy 2026.
There you go. One more time, longevitywellness.co for 2 days, 35% off. Get a subscription. You're going to be glad you did. Longevitywellness.co, promo code Gruber, 35% off, and I'll be right back. All right, so we'll get more into this in the next hour. But Donald Trump, over the last couple of days, has had Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, at Mar-a-Lago. He had Bibi Netanyahu there yesterday. And he said, look, Iran, don't play games. A lot of turmoil in Iran right now. I wouldn't read much into it. We've seen this happen from time to time there. And look, they've had for 46 years an iron grip on people. They kill 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people a year that are outspoken critics of the regime, of the mullahs, of the Ayatollah, and so forth. And they just disappear. They get hung in public sometimes, and sometimes they just disappear. We know that, of course. So some upheaval in Iran. Wouldn't worry too much about that anyhow. So Trump warns Iran, do not try to rebuild your nuclear capabilities. We'll hit you again. He said to Hamas, you promised to lay down your weapons. You didn't do it. And if you don't do it, we're going to hit you again. Trump very forceful. And like I said, we'll have more on that coming up in the next hour. But really, I want your feedback. Here's what I figured out. Minnesota's got the largest Somali population. Ohio's got the second highest. D.C. and Virginia third. But then other states like Maine and Georgia have significant populations. And so it's time to search and check for fraud in all these places because it's cultural. It's cultural. They don't think it's fraud. The Somalians don't think of it as fraud. They think of it as, look, I'm doing what I have to do for my people. If I can advance my people, I'm doing the right thing. Their mindset is completely different than yours and mine. Right? So keep that in mind as you look at this. But it's not just going to be these folks. As Senator Johnson said, you're going to find fraud on a massive scale across this country. That makes me say, where did Doge go? Anyhow. If you want great coffee in your cup, you want 1775 coffee. It's what we drink around here every day. 1775coffee.com. Use the promo code Gruber. You're going to save some money on that great cup of Joe. Put it right in this cup right here. The one that says The Steve Gruber Show, which, by the way, you can get. We'll tell you about that in the next hour as well. One of those great-looking cups to drink coffee with me. 1775coffee.com. Woke-free. Single origin. Good stuff. More of The Steve Gruber Show will continue after this break. I'll be right back. always something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent.
Come on, man.
We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
And welcome to it as I fight for you from the foxhole of freedom every single day, fighting to put America first. Not everybody else, America first. The taxpayers first. You and your kids and grandkids first. Glad to have you here as we're almost done with 2025. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, ICE been attacked in every way possible. Every way possible, ICE has been attacked, insulted, spit on, physically attacked. But their recruiting numbers have hit record highs in 2025. Seems honest people don't care about the lies. Number two, President Trump has kept his eye on Venezuela and now reports a major drug hub has been hit inside the country, crippling the drug trade there. More to come. And number three, let's continue today to thank Nick Shirley for his fearless reporting on the massive fraud originating from the Somali community inside of Minneapolis. He had the courage to rip back the curtain, to tell the truth, to knock on the door. He had to have security, strong security. He was followed. He was threatened. And when I say this, I say he should have an award for his courage and a reward financially. If he saves the taxpayers of Minnesota $1 billion or $5 billion or $10 billion or whatever the final number turns out to be, he should have a play in that. He should be rewarded for that handsomely. No question. But until high-level officials are held accountable, and I mean the governor, the lieutenant governor, the attorney general, I don't mean some mid-level management person who gets squeezed. Now, if they did something wrong, yes, they should go to jail as well. But I'm telling you, until we hold real officials accountable for their fraud, for their theft, for their laziness, nothing's going to change. And look, California leads the pack when it comes to fraud. $100 billion estimated in that state. But the same thing has been found in Minneapolis, has been found in Columbus, Ohio, in Portland, Maine, in Lewiston, Maine, in Georgia, and elsewhere. This is going on all over the country. And here's a guy, here's just an average guy that I pulled from social media. Don't know who he is. He's had enough of the Somali fraud and the whole hate the white guy thing. He's sick of this whole hate the white guy thing. You did check it for language, right? All right, here we go.
All right, let me get this straight. So I'm an American. I'm born here. I'm raised here. I fight for this country. I stand up for this country. I speak the language. I was indoctrinated as a kid. Since I was a child, being told, I'm the problem because I'm a white. I'm the problem because I'm a man. I'm the problem because I'm straight. I'm losing work. I'm getting fired for not getting a forced vaccine. I fight for that. I'm called a far-right extremist, terrorist. I lose friends. I lose family. I lose money. I get fired for being white. Yes, I have the receipts. Emails, tape recordings saying, we don't want you because you're white. It's really not a good look right now. But you can be an illegal immigrant, sneak over the border, come into this country, start fake daycares in Minnesota, fake healthcare companies, get millions, if not billions of dollars funded by the taxpayers. You don't have to speak the language. You can hate America. You can hate white people, and you get off scot-free.
Yeah, that pretty well covers it, doesn't it? That pretty well covers it. I think for the first time in decades, there's going to be a sea change in the state of Minnesota. I'm predicting it now. Democrats' death grip, and it is a death grip, on Minnesota is about to end. Governor Tim Walz should be prosecuted at a minimum. He oversaw all of this. And how do I know that there's something beyond the fraud at daycares and autism centers and healthcare clinics? Because Governor Walz made it possible. When you say there is no voter fraud, you're a fool. Governor Walz made it so anyone, legal, not legal, didn't matter, could get a driver's license in Minnesota. And if you have a driver's license in Minnesota and you go to the polling place, you flash your driver's license, that's all you need. You get to vote. Watch this.
It's done.
A packed room at the St. Paul Armory erupted after the governor's signature made driver's license for all the law of the land.
So we give driver's licenses to anyone here. You don't have to be a citizen. You don't have to, which is a photo ID. So if someone comes in, they register, they have the driver's license, but they have an incorrect social or no social or whatever. So then they become incomplete. But if they walk in to vote with their driver's license, does that make them all of a sudden now okay?
Mr. Linnell.
Madam Chair, so the designation on the roster for someone whose registration had been incomplete, if they present the election judge with that acceptable identification document, that would clear the challenge from the roster and they would be permitted to cast a ballot.
Mr. Anderson.
Well, okay, there's your problem potentially. So thank you.
So just to clarify, someone who is not a citizen but presents a driver's license at that point in the process could be permitted to vote.
Madam Chair, at the time of registration, as well as at the time of submitting a ballot, every voter is signing the attestation affirming their eligibility to vote, including that they meet all eligibility requirements, that they are a U.S. citizen.
And there you have it. Oh, and by the way, in Minnesota, another strange little law, you can vouch for 8 other voters. Oh, yeah, they're good. You can vouch for 8 other people. Yep, they're good to vote. 1 driver's license, 9 votes. 1 driver's license to an illegal alien, 9 votes. The fraud in Minnesota is by far the biggest story at the end of 2025. It is a complete meltdown, a complete failure. Chip Roy of Texas calls it for what it is. Listen.
Defies all logic and reason to believe that Governor Walz was ignorant of what was happening in Minnesota. Let's be clear. He was campaigning on it last year with respect to the campaign with Vice President Harris in her run for the presidency. He literally was talking about it. Thank God that President Trump won that election. Thank God that we do not have a Harris-Walz presidency, because they would be encouraging this to continue, whereas this president is rooting out the fraud, securing the border, stopping the flow of people into our country. But this is what happens when you have massive welfare programs that are funding people that are coming into our country, whether it's illegally or, frankly, through legal channels that are being abused by the radical left and the Marxists who want this to occur. The Somali community knew full well what they were doing. It's a part of an enterprise-wide effort that's global, tied to the United Nations, tied to world organizations, NGOs, our own taxpayer dollars that are being used against us while we import people to be put on the welfare state, to be put on Medicaid, and to take taxpayer money. It's fraud that has to be stopped, and people need to be removed, deported, denaturalized, and sent back to Somalia.
I find nothing to disagree with in any of that, Chip Roy. Thank you for that. When we come back, the year in review for climate change and the Green New Deal. How's that scam going? Speaking of scams, we'll continue the Steve Gruber Show after this. Hi, it's Steve Gruber. All right. Hey, Anthony, you got that storm footage, the second one, all the broken trees. A big blizzard went through northern Michigan over the last couple of days. Marquette, Michigan. This is Gaylord, Michigan. Look at all the broken trees, heavy wind, big snow. Ice storm there last year really weakened a lot of trees, took out a bunch of them. Man, this climate change thing sure is devastating at 15 degrees, I'll tell you that. Gregory Wrightstone joining me now. Glad to have him here as always. He is the geologist and executive director of the CO2 Coalition, Arlington, Virginia. Gregory, nice to see you.
It's good to be back on with you, Steve. It's a good time to be a climate realist in America.
It sure is. And here's the real thing. Donald Trump is dumping these offshore wind projects because they're pointless, and pointed out that all these massive wind projects off the East Coast could be replaced by a single natural gas pipeline and deliver more energy. Look, it's the most asinine thing, and maybe a bigger scam than what's going on in Minnesota is the Green New Deal, isn't it?
It is, because we're talking in Minnesota, we're talking about billions of dollars, $9 billion.
Right.
That's a lot of money.
It is.
It pales in comparison to the money that's been, it's estimated trillions of dollars have been wasted for this attempt to achieve net zero carbon emissions. And of course, what they say is that our emissions of carbon dioxide by burning coal, natural gas, using oil, are increasing CO2 in the atmosphere, which is then driving the greenhouse gas warming, and we're seeing unusual and unprecedented warming, and it's going to lead to climate crisis after climate crisis, and we're all going to die.
Yeah,
and it is true.
I'm shocked.
It is true that we will. Yeah,
I'm shocked that you don't believe in magic, because climate change is magic. If there's a drought, climate change. Flood, climate change. Warm spell, climate change. Cold snap, climate. It explains everything, Gregory. How do you not get it? It explains everything.
I know. Hey, but there is one of the ones that I read about just last year. I have to laugh about it. You'll find this is funny. There was a report that was widely broadcast that poison ivy was going to be accelerated by climate change. And you know what? They're right, because carbon dioxide, as you and I know, is a huge benefit to vegetation, and it's an equal opportunity fertilizer, that carbon dioxide. So yes, the oak trees, the ferns, they will all benefit from more carbon dioxide and warming, and so will poison ivy. So that was the one that I said, they're right about that.
Yeah. That's heartbreaking to Anthony, by the way. Our live engineer, who you talk to every time you call in here, wildly allergic to poison ivy, so he's not pleased with that. But look, the Trump administration is paring this stuff back, getting rid of those offshore wind deals, trying to dismantle these other things that have been basically stealing from the American taxpayer to provide nothing in return. Billions to create electric charging stations. In the Biden administration, they created, I think, like 6 for billions of dollars. I mean, the theft of taxpayer dollars is being curtailed by, well, people that can actually think for a bit, right?
It is, and they've got. In fact, they just closed down. Let me see. I'm looking here trying to make sure I got the name of it right. National Center for Atmospheric Research in Colorado. Russ Vogt at the Office of Management and Budget said he's going to shut it down. He's going to dismantle it, and it's good. I talked to had a conversation via email with Dr. Richard Lindzen earlier when this was announced. It's called NCAR. And he said, I got my first job at NCAR, and I remember fondly, we were doing early research. This was 1960, but it's evolved. NCAR, NOAA, NASA, these all started out as a valid scientific research institute that would follow wherever the rabbit holes went. They followed the science, researched it, debated the science, and they've evolved into now just a mouthpiece of climate alarmism, all of these. And so they need to be wheeled back. NCAR, he says he's going to split up some of the needed functions. Some of the work that they do that's good will go to other institutes. But anymore, they're not following the scientific method. They're not doing science the way science should be done, which means question everything and go and follow the science. But now everyone that speaks out against climate alarmism man-made catastrophic warming, they need to silence. They need to silence me.
Yeah, you're
and
a
my
denier.
colleagues.
I mean, look, let me be, I'll go on the record. I said this to you before. Is climate change real? Yes, of course it is. Is global warming real? Of course it is. I have the Great Lakes to prove it. That started about 11,700 years ago when the Ice Age came to a close. The glaciers melted. I got Lake Michigan and Lake Superior and all these great lakes and rivers. That's true. But I didn't do it, and neither did you, Gregory. I don't think the mastodons were driving Suburbans, all right? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they had, GPS and the whole deal. But the fact of the matter is the glaciers melted long before Republicans got here, didn't they?
They did. And since you brought it up, 11,700 years ago, sea levels were 400 feet lower than they are today.
That's right.
Why are all these islands not under 400 feet of water, Steve? It's because of these are natural processes where the islands that we're talking about, they claim will be underwater. They grow. It's a geologic process known as accretion. And so it's crazy. But thankfully, the Trump administration is reeling back some of this. It's really scientific misinformation or disinformation that they're spreading. And we need to get the truth out there. We've been I'm very, 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 and I've been an optimist for many years. Yeah. I've always felt that the truth would win out, and it is.
And it is.
One of the
CO2 is the gas of life. Look, CO2 is the gas of life. And if you're opposed to CO2, I don't know what you're thinking anyhow. 20 seconds, last word to you.
One of the things we do here at the CO2 Coalition is we search for things to debunk. Good news, we're finding fewer and fewer of these in the mainstream media to debunk. They're just not talking about it anymore. And Steve, I'll leave you with 3 words. We are winning.
We are winning, no question. Happy New Year.
Bigly. All right,
Happy New Year to you, Greg. Although I think the ice age is returning to Florida. You said it's going to be 39 degrees there. Flash on the comments here on Getter saying the same thing. The ice age coming to Florida. Be warm and have a Happy New Year.
Thank you very much.
There you have it. Gregory Wrightstone, great commentator on this for years now on this program. I'll take a break and be right back. I saw this remarkable comment coming from the chief legal correspondent at CBS News. I saw this yesterday. I couldn't believe what I was looking at, right? Here she is on CBS News on a panel discussion, and they're all talking about how corrupt the Supreme Court is. She said, stop it. Just because you don't agree with them doesn't mean they're corrupt. She said it's absolutely wrong, and it's destabilizing. This is the new CBS News, I guess. Now, look, I'm not putting a lot of faith here, but this is worth hearing. Listen.
There is a narrative that the Supreme Court is corrupt. I mean, we saw that emerge in the wake of the Dobbs decision that overturned Roe versus Wade. And now we see it that they're in the tank for Trump. Not only is that narrative over-reported, it is patently false, and it is dangerous for the institution and the public's faith and confidence in the rule of law. This is a conservative Supreme Court. It has been a conservative Supreme Court for 20 years. People can disagree and do disagree with their opinions, but it's profoundly wrong to call it or say corruption where there, in fact, is none. What's underreported is any understanding of what this court's been doing for the past 20 years, its views of its role vis-a-vis the other branches, how it sees the law, how it's trying in its focus to restore some kind of accountability in our constitutional structure. Again, this is a court that is functional. It is consistent. They are 9 justices. They don't necessarily see the Constitution the same way by any means, or how to interpret federal law. They're in a struggle over the proper way to interpret the Constitution, but that is as it should be. And I think as we approach our 250th anniversary of this country, it's important to think about the court and the rule of law as the justices are doing, especially if we hope to keep democracy intact.
Wow. On CBS News. Remarkable. Truly remarkable. Hey, it's not too late to give the gift of relief with Patriots Relief, something they'll truly appreciate. Right now, Patriots Relief is offering gift cards anywhere from $25 to $200. They're already 5% off, but if you use the promo code Gruber2, you're going to save an additional 10%, a total of 15% off at Patriots Relief. These gift cards. Real relief, real savings, only at Patriots Relief. Stress, pain, you can't sleep well, patriotsrelief.com, and right now you can save 15% on those gift cards. Anywhere from $25 to $200 increments. Check it out, patriotsrelief.com. Check it out right now. I'll be right back.
There's this
Diving right back into it, 2025 has had a lot of big stories, to say the least. Minneapolis, we've been talking about at length. Epstein files coming out showing Democrats, Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, and others, not Donald Trump that they wanted. The drug cartels being cut off and destroyed. My next guest covers a lot of different things. John Gordon is an attorney, legal analyst, host of The Truth with John Gordon. John, nice to have you on the program.
It's good to be with you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, my friend, and I hope 2026 is a good year. Looks like the economy's going to shape up nicely. I know you're not an expert on Minneapolis, but good golly. It is the talk of the town. You said you had the chance to meet Nick Shirley here recently. This guy deserves a percentage. If he finds $9 billion of fraud in Minneapolis, this guy deserves a cut of the take because he saved the taxpayers so much money. That's my opinion. He should get a reward, an award. He should be recognized. And this is the big thing for me, John. The New York Times didn't cover it, nor did the Washington Post or CBS or ABC or NBC. They all knew about this. This has been going on for years and years. What's your take?
My take is that they're in on it. You know, when Elon Musk bought Twitter, we discovered that the FBI had paid Twitter $3.4 million to censor and cancel people if they spoke out against the vaccine or didn't support the narrative.
Right.
Then we found out that Politico collected $10 million for subscriptions that sold for $75,000 to $100,000 a piece to people inside the federal government. We also learned from an heir of the Cox organization that owns the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the Dayton newspaper, and 350 radio stations across the country. I don't think they're going to carry me on their stations, but
I'm guessing not.
That Cox has contracts with the Department of Defense.
Yeah.
A media automobile company? Really? So they're
well, John, let me jump in there. Let me tell you a
money.
quick story here for people that don't know. George Soros bought Odyssey out of bankruptcy late 2024. It was fast-tracked by the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, fast-tracked it. He bought 225 radio stations, including WWJ in Detroit as an example, not too far from me. So he controls what's called the Michigan News Network. He controls top-of-the-hour news across Michigan and many other states. Now, on the 1st of December, I lost 3 stations. 3. Because now Soros is going out and doing licensing agreements and replacing talk hosts like myself with sports talk. Now, I still have 25 or 30 stations. Doesn't really impact me, but the fact that he's out there silencing people because he's got a big checkbook is just another part of the problem, John. Silencing people like you and me.
Well, I think, if I had a dream, it would be that we all get back to our roots, that we return to Judeo-Christian beliefs, and that we support our Constitution. Now, we do have the freedom of speech guarantee in the Constitution, but that only applies to government. But if you own a radio station, you have a license from the government, and I just don't think you should be allowed to cancel people because you don't like their political opinions. So I would call for the FCC to take a real close look at that, because I think that is an extension of government, and I think the application of freedom of speech would apply.
I would agree with that. Free speech is important. But that's what's happening in this country. You've got people that are controlling the airways, but not so much. Do you think, as I look back, I think Elon Musk purchasing what was Twitter and making it X was a sea change because we learned these things. Plus, you have the ability of people like Nick to go out there and say, look, here's what's going on fraud-wise and get 125 million views. That never would have happened on the old Twitter, would it?
Well, never would it have happened. And just look at how, I'm old school because I am. And we would have lost this country if Trump had not been elected. We were very close to it, in my opinion, in 2024. And it's only because of the internet and Elon Musk that we were able to save our country. And you look at what that one person did. He bought Twitter. He restored the platforms for people that had been canceled. He went to Pennsylvania and worked for a month, and tens of thousands of people, throngs of people came to listen to him. And he invested $250 million in the presidential race. And so I do think that one individual played a pivotal role, but so did Donald Trump, obviously. I've never seen anybody give of themselves more than Donald Trump in the history of our country, really.
I agree with that. Look, moving forward, I think that what's happened in Minneapolis will be a key issue for the midterm elections because it's not just Minneapolis, it's California. It's Columbus, Ohio. It's Maine. It's all over this country. And fraud, if you think that the government of Minnesota was a good mark for the scammers, the federal government is an easier and bigger mark. Billions and billions of dollars being foisted out of our treasury by people pulling games and stunts and things like that. But let me shift gears real quick because I wanted to touch on this Epstein thing. The Democrats who had these files for years and years, hammering, well, we got to have them because Trump's in there. There's nothing there. John, there's nothing there, and suddenly the Epstein thing turns into a big fat nothing again, except that we've got Bill Clinton in all sorts of compromising positions, Bill Gates in his knickers. I mean, come on, people. It's embarrassing, and I think these people should be held accountable. But the pipe dream of the Democrats vanished again, didn't it?
Well, I'll just say, take a slightly different tack. I'm not a voyeur. I do think the people that have engaged in illicit activities should be held accountable.
Agreed.
Yes, hard stop. It's not my priority.
Not mine either.
I want to know what
I'm just saying they made a big deal out of it. Go ahead.
I want to know what role our government or foreign governments played in the honey traps that Epstein created in New York, Palm Beach, a mile from where I'm sitting, and in Epstein Island. That's the reason that the American people are not willing to let this go. I don't think it's about Bill Clinton or Prince Andrew or Bill Gates. We've known that now for years. I mean,
True.
There's nothing new there. But what we still have not learned is what role did our federal government play in creating these honeypots? And that is the mission that I'm on. I was home from the fourth grade when John Kennedy was shot in 1963. It shook me to my core as a 10-year-old, and I've never forgotten it. And I've studied it and read about it, watched the videos, the documentaries. I went to Dallas on November 22nd of this year for the 62nd commemorative of his assassination. And I talked to witnesses. I talked to Lee Harvey Oswald's mistress. I talked to the granddaughter of the lady who owned the rooming house that Oswald stayed in. I talked to a guy that has traced the steps of Oswald. There is no way that Oswald was the assassin. I don't think he was even the assassin. What I do believe is that our own federal government killed the 35th president of the United States, and that Hoover covered it up. I want them tried in memoriam and their names ripped off the buildings that recognize them because they
will we ever know,
are
John?
not deserving. They're corrupt as hell.
Will we ever know? I mean, more books have been written on that assassination than just about anything else in American history.
Look, I think we do know. I think we know beyond. I think there's more circumstantial evidence than enough circumstantial evidence to convict LBJ, Allen Dulles, and J. Edgar Hoover, and a host of other people. All you really have to do is just approach it with an open mind and question the official narrative. The Warren report was a hoax. But here's the point I'm trying to get to. They continue to do this stuff. And November 22nd, 63 proved that if you're in power, you can literally get away with murder of the president of the United States. So I call it trickle-down ethics and values. And so we're still doing this stuff. I want to know, what took down Building 7? I
want to know that too. And John, I got to leave it there. You got 10 seconds. Tell them where they can find you.
You can find me on johngordon.tv. All of our past episodes are there. And you can listen every Saturday and Sunday from noon to 2 on the John Fredericks Radio Network. You can find us on Get or Rumble, YouTube.
Got to leave it there, John. Happy New Year.
You.
Good stuff. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Steve. Bye.
All right, at the top of this hour, we spoke to Gregory Wrightstone about the scam of the Green New Deal. Billions of dollars. He says Minnesota, $9 billion is a lot of money, and it is. He said the scam being perpetuated under the guise of climate change is multiples of that. I agree with that. And now, as we talked about briefly during that conversation, Donald Trump is getting rid of these offshore wind projects, not just because they're useless and can be replaced by a single natural gas pipeline, but because they're a threat to national security. National security. Melanie Collette is a CFAC policy analyst. That's the Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow, CFAC. Melanie, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Nice to see you today. All right, so when you talk about ending these projects, first of all, they don't do anything to help the American energy grid. They're dangerous to whales. They're dangerous to airlines because of the interference, electrically speaking, for 747s coming across. But what about national security? What are we talking about here?
So what we're talking about is an interruption of radar in possibly two ways. Enough clutter so that we're thinking that there is a false attack, or so much clutter that we're not sure that there's an attack coming. And then we're also just talking about how our adversaries have increased and gotten much better with their technology. And so, of course, we don't want anything to interfere with the technology that falsely detects something that our adversaries are doing, or doesn't detect something that our adversaries are doing because we've mistaken an actual attack for clutter. So it's a real problem, and it's been known for quite a while. That those of us who have been in the environmental game for a minute, we've known about this, but it's about time that the government actually listens, and that's what the Trump administration is doing now.
Melanie, let me run down the rabbit hole just for a moment here. Let me ask you about this, because this is important. These components, be it windmills or solar panels or a host of other things, are manufactured in China, right? So we've been told through different reporting and so forth, but it's been a bit scant, that these solar panels have ways to communicate. These giant turbines have ways to communicate. So maybe they're not just out there spinning wind. Maybe they're spinning information back to Beijing or wherever they're collecting it. Am I just a conspiracy theorist, or is that a possibility?
Well, it's a conspiracy until we find out it's true. Like that.
There you go.
That's the way these conspiracy theories work. And I don't think it's crazy to think that. Look what they're doing with TikTok. Look what they do with other technologies and steal our own technology. And, I'm right here in Cape May County. I happen to be a Cape May County commissioner where the Orsted project was proposed along our beautiful coastline here in Cape May County, also home to the only Coast Guard training center in the country here in Cape May County. And so we were particularly concerned about these things, about national defense, about how it was going to change the migration pattern of birds, the migration pattern of fisheries. So, it's not just national defense, but this is the premise, and rightfully so, that the Trump administration has hung its hat on to do a 90-day pause to reevaluate and see if there's, I think ultimately that they will be stopped by the Trump administration. But right now,
isn't it remarkable, Melanie? I mean, to me, it's remarkable that I see these Green New Dealers, these environmental activists, because they're not conservationists, they're environmental activists. Oh, yes. We've got to have solar panels. How do you get solar panel fields? You bring in a D9 Caterpillar bulldozer. You bulldoze the environment. You run out every deer, every shrew, every animal that lives there. And then you put down limestone. You put down square miles of solar panels, run a fence around it, and say that's good for the environment. This is the worst thing possible for the environment. Then you've got these wind turbines that once they live their lifespan, which usually doesn't produce enough electricity to pay for the project in the first place, there's no way to dispose of them. They take these giant fins off these things and bury them in the ground. These are the environmentalists? Good God.
That's exactly right. And they have no idea how they're going to dispose of them. We've had some accidents happen already. We had one happen in Nantucket where the fiberglass was all over the beaches. Beaches had to close. How is that good for the environment? They don't know. When you actually read the studies on these things, you realize that they don't know how they're going to dispose of them. And they're going through that problem in Europe right now. So what you're going to end up with is these landfills full of toxic materials that the wind turbines are made from. It is not good for the environment. It's almost like, if I didn't know any better, it's a giant grift.
It is a giant grift. And here's the thing. How much money is going into campaigns from these Green New Deals, these NGOs? How much money is being funneled into these campaigns? Hey, we want to build this giant wind project off Nantucket, for example, as you just pointed out. Beautiful place, by the way. Don't wreck it, please.
Exactly.
You got to follow the money and all, because when we talk about the fraud in Minnesota, the fraud in California, well, the fraud in green energy and the Green New Deal is rampant as well, isn't it? I'll give you the last word.
The fraud is absolutely everywhere. There are some people who actually base their entire business model on grifting off of the government.
Yeah.
If green energy was absolutely so wonderful, then the market is going to dictate that. We don't need to mandate it. And the problem is, like I said, it's a giant grift. A lot of the studies and models are scenarios that can't possibly happen. And that's throughout the green energy movement. And that's why CFAC is here.
Yeah. CFAC, really appreciate it, Melanie. You guys are doing great work. You've contributed to this program greatly in 2025. I look forward to seeing you in 2026. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Thanks for having me.
Greatly appreciated. By the way, if you see a great interview like this, you say, man, I want to see that again. Or any of these to get your blood pressure up. Follow the Steve Gruber Show on YouTube. We're live there. We also have all the old episodes, right? All the old interviews. Great stuff. Just go to YouTube, become a subscriber, and you can share this with your friends. Tell them about the greatness of Real America's Voice. You can do all of these things. And say, look, you're looking for truth? You're looking for interviews you're not going to find anywhere else? Starts with Real America's Voice. You can follow it through on YouTube and say, hey, look at this. Share it on social media. Look at this conversation that Gruber had. I appreciate you. We appreciate all of you for making Real America's Voice the fastest growing network in the world. And we're only going to get bigger in 2026. I guarantee it. Again, go to YouTube, The Steve Gruber Show. You'll find it there. Follow it. Appreciate it. We'll be right back. More cowbell. Definitely more cowbell. That's what I think. I think I should be on my drum kit doing drum solos coming out of the breaks. What do you guys think? Anyhow, here's sports with Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. Bijan Robinson rushed for 195 yards and a touchdown, and the Atlanta Falcons defense intercepted LA Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford 3 times, and the Falcons held on to defeat the Rams 27-24 last night in Atlanta. Jesse Bates III returned one of the interceptions, 34 yards for a touchdown. The Falcons are now 7-9. The Rams fall to 11-5. 11 games in the NBA last night. Winners included Milwaukee, Miami, Phoenix, and Houston. In the NHL, there were 11 games as well. Winners included Florida, Carolina, Colorado, and Calgary. In men's college basketball, number 1 Arizona, number 2 Michigan, and number 3 Iowa State all won easily. On the women's side, number 6 Michigan survived in double overtime over Oregon, 92-87 on the road. Also winners included number 7 Maryland. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
Apparently it's a pretty popular idea, more cowbell, right? Yeah. My drum kit's just in the other room here. And, maybe I should put a camera on that deal.
You have a drum kit?
Of course. Since I was about 12.
Outstanding. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it sounds better than that. Yes, I do. I've had a drum kit since I was 12. Look, I'm not a musician. I'm a drummer, all right? But look, it helps my stress level. Flash on the Getter chat says I should definitely be doing that. He said it'd be epic. So maybe in 26 we'll get a glimpse of Gruber on the drum kit. I'm like, what was the Muppet?
Animal.
Animal. There, yeah, more
Are
like.
you like Animal on the drums?
Kind of the way I look, because you get all sweaty and your hair's all wrecked, and I'll be like Animal on, Love that.
Yeah, he just goes crazy. Animal always goes crazy on the drums.
24-hour telethon drum solo. Steve plays drums for 24 hours.
Yeah, my fingers would be bleeding. Anyhow, love you guys. Really appreciate your support in 2025. Look forward to all of you in 2026. It's going to be a big year. Looking forward to it. You can send me emails at stevegruber.com. Like I said, follow me on YouTube for all these great interviews and more. Make sure you tell your friends about Real America's Voice, the fastest growing network in the world. We can only do it together. Remember, it'll take all of us to save this country, every single one of us. Got another hour straight ahead here, The Steve Gruber Show. Something to make you look around and say, hey, you know what? I live in a pretty great country. President Trump is calm, on point, on his game. And unlike the last guy, he is competent and coherent. Come on, man. We're not bending the knee anymore. We're here to take a stand for God and country.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
And welcome to it as we kick off another brand new hour here, the Steve Gruber Show, fighting for you. From the foxhole of freedom every day, putting America first. It's what I do. And I'll call anybody out for anything I don't like. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, the government is cashing checks and holding back documents in the FOIA requests in Michigan, and apparently it's all legal. They can take your money and not give you anything in return. Sound familiar? Sounds like government. Number two, VRBO suing the state of Michigan for $19 million in a tax bill, saying, no, you can't do that. And number three, I just cannot look away from this fraud in Minnesota. Because it's not isolated to Minnesota. It's endemic and systemic throughout the state of Minnesota, the state of California, the state of Maine, and this country. If you think the state of Minnesota was an easy mark for fraudsters, what do you think the federal government is? More programs, more money, more opportunity to swindle taxpayer dollars away from you, the taxpayer. It's remarkable. In Minnesota, by the way, one of those daycares exposed by Nick Shirley, Ibrahim Ali, said that Nick Shirley filmed the Quality Leering Center outside operating hours. He denied fraud after a video questioned state-funded child care centers, with both sides disputing claims that the facility was closed or improperly collecting taxpayer money. At a news conference Monday, Minnesota Department of Children, Youth, and Families Commissioner Tiki Brown said prior inspections of the centers did not uncover fraud, and that regulators are conducting additional unannounced visits to review concerns raised by the videos. One of the places he highlighted had 120 violations. 120. How many businesses do you know that would have over 100 violations of state laws and regulations that would still be allowed to operate collecting state money? The answer is zero. If you have 10 violations, you're done. 120 in one of them. We're aware of this is from the commissioner, Tiki Brown. We're aware of a video that's being circulated that's gained local and national attention about child care centers in Minnesota. While we have questions about some of the methods that were used in the video, questions like what? Talking to people? We do take the concerns that video raises about fraud very seriously. Brown said each facility mentioned in the video has been visited at least once in the past 6 months as part of the state's licensing process, with annual inspections conducted without advance notice to assess normal operations. She added that inspectors found children present during those visits and that none of the prior reviews uncovered fraud. None of those investigations uncovered findings of fraud. Well, you tell that to the voters of the state of Minnesota, because the fraud is somewhere around $9 billion, according to the local and latest estimates. Brown acknowledged questions about the timing of the video, noting that regulators are seeking clarity on whether footage was recorded during operating hours or on days when centers were scheduled to be open. Please. This went on for a very long time. Meanwhile, the manager of the Quality Learning Center, which was misspelled, by the way, Quality Leering Center, forcefully rejected the allegation, saying the video misrepresented the facility by filming outside posted hours and falsely suggesting the business was inactive. There's no fraud going on whatsoever, said Ibrahim Ali, the center's manager. Kids come to us. Clients come to us. Their parents come to us. They're here daily. They leave on time. They come on time. There is no fraud going on whatsoever. I don't believe a word of it. He went to one after another after another. They all mysteriously closed that day. Ali said the center operates only Monday through Thursday, 2 to 10. 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. only. Odd hours for a daycare, isn't it? Monday through Thursday and only from 2 to 10? Don't most parents, don't you drop your kids off at daycare, for those of you that do, in the morning, pick them up in the afternoon? I don't know a single daycare that operates only 8 hours. Usually they operate from about 7 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon, right? 10 hours anyhow. He also disputed claims made during the state briefing that the center had closed due to space concerns, calling that assertion false. We haven't closed. We've never closed. There's never a time where kids were told to stop coming. What he says is the scrutiny has been damaging to the business and, of course, to the Somali community. They're trying to claim racism and xenophobia. Are you trying to record that we're doing fraud, or you're trying to put the Somali name and the fraud in the same sentence? That's what really hurt us the last couple of days, please. The 42-minute video by Nick Shirley posted on X has over 125 million views last time I looked. The Quality Leering Center is supposed to account for 99 kids, got $4 million in state funds. How many, I know people that run daycares. I don't think they get millions of dollars from the state, millions of dollars. Fraud is fraud. And this is a sea change in Minnesota.
Well, he could easily, the owner of the Leering Center could easily disprove Nick by standing outside his business, taking a video of the outside, full-length video from the outside, walking inside the business to a bunch of kids.
Yeah, except that a bunch of kids were there yesterday, and the critics say, yeah, they were bussed in. Uh-huh. Anyhow, Senator John Fetterman says the Democrats have lost their way, and if they don't figure it out, they're going to lose the midterms badly. I think he's right. Listen to what he said.
Never going to change my party, but clearly we've lost the argument, and right now I think it's entirely appropriate to really be honest and just figure out why exactly have we effectively lost 2 out of the last 3 cycles, and a lot of the things we've really kind of really lost our connection with American voters in ways. And I think we can't just be, well, Trump is always wrong, or that we're going to set the country on fire or whatever. That's just not true either, of course. But, when I represent a state like Pennsylvania, that keeps you honest. And you always can't forget that a lot of Americans happen to disagree with you. That does not mean that they are fascists or now they want to shred the Constitution.
But when you hear some Democrats saying Trump is acting like an autocrat.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. If you actually compare him to an actual autocrat, that is not just that. Now, last night, for example, people were complaining. They were protesting about, oh, that's the Hitler thing. You just don't ever compare anyone to Hitler.
Wow. Sounds like Esquire Bob to me. Democrat friend of mine, attorney. You don't compare people to Hitler. There's not a comparison between Donald Trump and Hitler. And yet Democrats do it all the time. He's a fascist. He's Adolf Hitler. They're Nazis. Stop it. You're embarrassing yourself and your party. And that's why Democrats are going to get shellacked in the midterms. The economy is good. The country's full of fraud, and everybody knows it. And you call anybody who questions that a racist or a fascist or a Nazi. Good luck with that message. I'll be back. All right, as you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene leaving Congress. Is that next week? I guess it's next week. I think it's January the 5th or 6th, whatever it is. She's on her way out. I'm going to tell you, and I like Marjorie. I do, but I don't like this. I don't like people who campaign for a job that quit. I didn't like it when Mark Green did it in Tennessee. I don't like it when she does it in Georgia. I don't like it one bit. You can have your issues, but look, politics is a contact sport. What, you got in there and realized it was ugly in your third term? Come on. Bo Brown joining me, special election candidate for Congress in Georgia 14. Bo, welcome to the program.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
Look, I agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene on a lot of things. I don't agree with quitting in the middle of a term. It's expensive for the state of Georgia. It's disruptive to Congress. It accomplishes not much at all. Your thoughts?
Yeah, expensive for the state of Georgia. It's going to cost about $1 million for us to have the special election. So she's costing us money on her way out. So it's not a good thing. But, you know, I'm primed and ready to run and looking to have a successful campaign. And, you know, I'm just a regular guy, but I'm throwing my hat in the ring and running on convictions.
All right, so you were convicted? I thought you pled not. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, of course, folks. Do not take that out of context. All right, so why you? Why are you the guy? Tell us about you. How old are you? What's your background? What are you fighting for? Why are you America first?
Yeah, I'm 37 years old, married, 2 kids. You know, I've spent my time on the sideline, you know, raising a family and working to earn a living. And, you know, nobody knew Marjorie Taylor was going to resign. And I saw this short election cycle as an opportunity for someone like me, a regular American, red-blooded American, born and raised, to jump in and give the American public someone they can trust and someone that's not tied to the political fray and from Washington and that's literally from the roots of Georgia. So I just had the inspiration to do this, and that's where I'm at today, and it's been pretty successful so far.
Well, good. Tell me, how many people are in the race? I don't have any idea. My daughter lives north of Atlanta, so I have some good connections to Georgia, but not to the 14th Congressional District. How many people are in the race, and why do you say you're doing well so far?
Yeah, it seems like every day someone else jumps in, but this may end up being the most contested seat or special election in U.S. history. So I was one of the first to really say I was doing it. I was saying I was doing it from the beginning, and well, actually, as soon as she said she was going to resign, and it's been tough to get local coverage here because there's a lot of gatekeeping with the GOP. But
sure,
and I'm not a part of that. So I am part of I'm a registered Republican, but I haven't been active, obviously. But I'm definitely qualified. I mean, grow up in this district. I've been all over Northwest Georgia providing professional services and risk management. I've met with many business owners and C-suite executives to protect their business and assets, and that was good for their employees as well. So worker safety. But yeah, I grew up in this district. I have deep roots. I'm from a blue collar family. My dad's 69 years old and he still works. He's still pouring concrete to this day. So
now he's a tough guy.
Yeah, you don't want to shake his hands.
No, he'll crush your hand. If he's still pouring concrete at 69, he's got callus on those hands. I guarantee you that. One of the things that matter in Georgia 14. Tell me what the basis of your platform is. What would you deliver for that district?
Yeah, like I said, I think being not from the fray, I'm going to be someone that you can trust and someone that can be accountable to this district. My pledge is to be the most accessible candidate that's ever served Georgia 14, which meaning I want to be in this district helping out more than I'm in Washington, D.C. I know there's obviously, I'm not going to vote president. I'll vote yes or no on all the issues, but things I want to change. Like I said, I want to go to Washington and really I want to cut taxes and balance the budget. Like the quickest way to help Georgians and Americans is to lower taxes and lower spending. We need direct impact to raise the income of these Georgians. Second, I think we need a national voter ID law. We need national voter ID, period, to protect our elections. We need to outlaw mail-in voting. Thirdly, I want to do term limits. I'm not there to spend the rest of my life. I'm there to go do a job. And like I say, when someone gives you a job, you work hard, you figure it out, and good things happen. And I want to do that for Georgia 14. Lastly, I would shut down the H-1B visas. I think we need to shut down H-1B visas immediately. and maybe do a moratorium on visas in general, because the number one reason, the basic right of an American citizen is that their citizenship should be a premium. And I feel like that's been lost. We don't respect, American citizens anymore. They're the last ones in the line. They're the last ones to get attention. Seems like Congress and, it's the same old up there. And I'm going to wreak havoc and work for Georgia 14 and make a difference. So, I think that those kind of identify things. I'm new to this. I'm not a politician, and I'm learning as I go. But I have a heart for the American public and a heart for public service.
Well done, Bo. That's pretty well laid out. You've got a cohesive 4-point plan. I like it. I don't know what the future holds, but you sound like somebody who can give back to your communities and the entire 14th Congressional District. So I wish you well in your endeavors. I do. I hope you do well, and I'm rooting for you.
Yes, Steve. I think you'll see more of me.
All right, sir. Thank you, Bo.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Happy New Year, my friend. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Steve. Thanks.
There you have it. All right, my friends. Look, I'm going to tell you again. I don't like people quitting in the middle. It's not like it's a revelation that politics is ugly. Of course it's ugly. It's not a revelation that people are getting backroom deals and sweetheart deals. And we are going to find out, mark my words, that this graft that was going on in Minnesota, it was enriching politicians. It was enriching politicians that allowed it to continue. You're going to find out that money flowed from these daycare centers and that Somali community into the pockets of Democrats running for office. People like Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota. He was enriched by this scam. That's my best guess. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Tim Walz was enriched by this. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but I don't think so. You mark my words. You're going to find a connection. Follow the cash. Follow the cash. I'll be right back. 2 things here I want to cover real quickly. Vacation rental giant VRBO suing the state of Michigan after I got a tax bill for $18.7 million that Michigan claims are unpaid taxes and interest tied to short-term rentals. The lawsuit filed December 18th. The Michigan Court of Claims challenges a September assessment from the Michigan Department of Treasury covering years 2020 through 2022. State auditors say HomeAway, that's the mothership of VRBO, failed to properly remit Michigan's 6% use tax on certain bookings made through its platform. HomeAway said that's just not true, arguing the responsibility lies with individual property owners, not the platform. According to the filing, any taxes collected from guests were passed directly to hosts who were expected to send the money to the state. All funds representing use tax collected from guests were dispersed to the hosts, the company said in court documents. We do some vacation rentals. We pay taxes. I don't know if this dispute's going to go one way or the other, but I can tell you that when we do short-term rentals at a house we own, a couple of them now, we pay taxes on that. We pay taxes on every damn thing. Everything you can imagine. Hopefully taxes are going down in the new year. We'll see how that plays out. Meanwhile, in Michigan, municipalities are charging organizations and individuals money to process FOIA requests, Freedom of Information requests, And then delivering the information, never. They don't deliver it, but they charge for it, and it's perfectly legal. You see, the FOIA law doesn't put a time limit on when the government has to give you the information, even though they've charged for it. On December the 11th, the Michigan Court of Appeals ruled against the ACLU in a lawsuit involving the length of time the city of Grand Rapids took to release information requests. The ACLU said it would take the city 2 hours, 15 minutes to process the request, but the city wasn't going to release the information for 8 to 10 months, according to legal documents. The city cited a backlog, but did cash a check of $73.82. And the ACLU got the documents 15 months later. Yeah, I think that the ACLU, who I often and most always disagree with, is right about this one. So it is. Katie Hyde from Michigan News Source up next on the Steve Gruber Show. You don't want to miss it, so sit right there. All right. I'm still not 100%. This cold and flu season thing is for the birds. But I'm better than I was. At least, last Friday I had, half the show was laryngitis. Yeah, so anyhow, got that solved. My next guest does not have laryngitis. She speaks loud and proud for Michigan News Source. It's Katie Hyde, everybody, the assistant news director. Katie, how are you?
Good morning. I'm well. I had a lovely Christmas. How was yours?
Mine was lovely. I was a little under the weather, but not bad. It was not great after that. It's running around. Take care of yourself. Take your vitamins, all that stuff.
That's right. Get your beauty sleep.
I do want to show this video, Anthony, if you can. Remarkable videos of the snowstorm we just went through. We got some snow down here. But Marquette, Michigan got buried. The sidewalks are nothing more than tunnels down the road. And then Gaylord, I saw some video out of Gaylord where the trees are just snapping off. There it is for those of you on the live stream. Look at that. Because those trees were destroyed in large part by an ice storm earlier this year. And so a lot of the weak trees went down. I was without power 4 times the last 24 hours, Katie. Now that's how good DTE is to me. That should be the story.
In this business, yeah, you can't afford that in this business.
No. Thankfully, Ivy and I invested in a auto-fired generator a couple of years ago. Otherwise, I've been sitting here in the dark at, 20 degrees and 50-mile-an-hour winds. Anyhow, quite a storm, to say the least.
Yeah.
But here's a couple of great stories from Michigan News Source. And I tell you guys, go to Michigan News Source. It's my news company. I love them. Katie's one of the best, no question. 3 in 4 voters say anti-Semitism. Serious problem in America, an article that was just put up. 3 in 4 think it's a problem. And yet, you see all this anti-Semitic comments from members of Congress and everything else on almost a daily basis, don't you?
You do, and this study does show a sharp shift in how Americans over the last couple of years are viewing anti-Semitism. Like you said, 3/4 are saying it is a problem and should probably be addressed. And it also signals some broader social and political consequences, as you mentioned. This isn't just a fringe issue anymore, if it ever was one. It's now mainstream, and particularly dating back to October 7th, 2023, when Hamas terrorists rolled into Israel and brutally murdered thousands. And still 2 years after the fact, we are discussing the horrific atrocities over in that region. And so statistics like these, Steve, I think need to put pressure on elected officials and universities as well to speak out and address this.
Well, there's a lot of anti-Christian sentiment out there as well on college campuses.
Absolutely.
I mean, you look at the most persecuted religion in the world is not Judaism, it's Christianity, whether it's Nigeria or Lebanon or right here on America's college campuses. That's true, isn't it?
It is, and we've seen the rise in that over the last couple of years with these pro-Palestinian demonstrations on campuses where students and activists were setting up tents there, and so it's definitely a different feeling to see that. And you mentioned politicians. We have Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist, who has served under Whitmer for both of her terms as her number 2. He is running for governor next year, and he has retained the endorsement of 2 anti-Semites, Representative Rashida Tlaib here in Michigan, and also Representative Ilhan Omar. I think that speaks volumes for his priorities and what his campaign will be all about.
Yeah, I think he holds little chance of winning, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. He's been an invisible lieutenant governor. I don't know what he's done. I can't think of anything, to be honest with you.
I was talking to someone the other day who's not in this business, and she said, "We have a lieutenant governor?" So,
exactly.
For what it's worth, I'll throw that out there.
If you asked 100 people in Michigan, speaking about polling, how many people, just random 100 people at the gas pump, how many could name Garland Gilchrist as the lieutenant governor of Michigan? Would it be 1 in 100?
2 out of 100, maybe?
I mean, I don't know. It'd be pretty rare. Michigan's playing in the bowl game tomorrow. They're playing Texas with an interim head coach because Sharon Moore self-destructed. Apparently, they knew about it for months. I can't believe the AD is still in place. I can't. That athletic department is in shambles. But they did hire a new head coach, a guy who's, 66 years old from the University of Utah. He's been there for like 21 years. Kyle Whittingham. What do you make of this?
Well, this whole U of M head football coach Sharon Moore story was a sports story for about 2 minutes. And then it evolved into this other hard news story where now he's facing criminal charges. And when you look at what people are saying, they're commenting, they're saying, why is AD Ward Manuel still there? It's a culture problem. This is what we're hearing from people, and that needs to get dealt with before you look at doing anything else in your program. So I would have to say I'm surprised that Ward Manuel is still there. Other people seem surprised, but he did say, Ward Manuel, when he announced Whittingham would be the coach there, said this would be a good chance for someone with exceptional character to be at the helm of the team. And I think that that's where the focus needs to be. Of course, the Wolverines are always about winning games and building a program, but they have a severe cultural problem, even with people asking, how long did you look the other way on this Jerome Moore stuff? And
Now, a long time.
assistant. And so, yes, you have to ask, what's your priorities, not just with U of M, but with college football in general.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Ward Manuel needs to be gone. I can't believe he's still there. He should have been fired the day after Sharon Moore was fired. That's really my take. It's the take of a lot of people throughout the state of Michigan and fans across the country, to be honest with you. But, all right, look, Kyle Whittingham is 66 years old. He's not a Michigan guy. Good thing. He's from completely outside the program. Good thing. He's had a winning program at the University of Utah for years, had 10-win seasons. Good thing. And so he's disciplined. He's got character. He'll be a breath of fresh air in Ann Arbor, thank God. But I think the damage done by Sharon Moore is long-lasting potentially. We haven't seen the transfer portal open up yet, but I think when you do, you're going to see some people leave.
Yes, that opens up on January 2nd, and then Sharon Moore will be back in court for his charges on January 22nd. So it will seem more like a soap opera, I think, than a sports
Can you imagine having a job that pays, what, $5 million a year, whatever it was? And you're out, I think it's sexting, you can call it texting, whatever, direct messaging, whatever, at the halftime of the Ohio State-Michigan game. Now, I don't know if that was ever proven, but those OnlyFans models saying he's sending us direct messages during the halftime of the biggest game of the year. I mean,
that was the chatter out there.
And here's the problem that I have with it. Here's a guy who claims to be a Christian. I'm a Christian. Yeah, obviously. Well adhered to the word. Anyhow, here's my tip of the day for you, Katie. Go read the new Charlie Kirk book. Stop in the Name of God. I got it for Christmas. I'm halfway through it. What a remarkable book.
I got it for Christmas too, and it is on my pile of books to read. So thank you for the tip.
Move it to the top.
I will.
it really is a fabulous book, and I say that for people who really want to find something new and special in 2026. It's a good way to go. Katie, Happy New Year. Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you too.
Greatly appreciated. There you have it. Yeah, Stop in the Name of God. Charlie Kirk's new book. Even though he's not with us anymore, his words and his thoughts and his connection to God still are. I implore you, pick up a copy. I'm halfway through it. I think it's remarkable and potentially life-changing.
I'll borrow it from you when you're done.
All right. You're on. You should read it. First, God created the heavens and the earth. That's how the book starts. I'll take a break, have some final thoughts on this program after this. All right, welcome back to it. Donald Trump hosting Bibi Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago yesterday. And some things came up, by the way, during their conversations, and then he talked to the press, of course. And he said, Iran, be warned. Don't try to get nuclear weapons again. Be warned, that's a very, very bad idea. Here's what he said.
Don't forget, we made the plan possible by taking out Iran. And speaking of Iran, I hope they're not trying to build up again, because if they are, we're going to have no choice but very quickly to eradicate that buildup. So I hope Iran is not trying to build up, as I've been reading that they're building up weapons and other things. And if they are, they're not using the sites that we obliterated, but they're using possibly different sites. We know exactly where they're going, what they're doing, and I hope they're not doing it, because we don't want to waste the fuel on a B-2. It's a 37-hour trip both ways. I don't want to waste a lot of fuel.
Yeah, I don't want to waste a lot of fuel. Iran, be warned. There's some protests in the streets of Tehran right now, but we've seen this before in the last 46 years. I wouldn't get too fired up over it. They came in by way of revolution. They know what to look for, and they put it down. It's been almost 50 years. I'd like to see the people of Iran free. Anyhow, we'll see what happens. Meanwhile, Trump said this, a similar thing, a warning to Hamas. You promised to lay down your weapons. You promised an end to the war with Israel. You haven't done it. And if you haven't done it, here's the alternative. Here's the president again.
If you don't see Hamas disarm in that short amount of time that you're giving them, can you tell us what the next steps would be?
It'll be horrible for them. Horrible. It's going to be really, really bad for them. And I don't want that to happen. But they made an agreement that they were going to disarm. And you couldn't blame Israel. By the way, we have other countries that will come in and do it. They said, let us do it for you if they don't. Countries that were with them wanted the deal to be made, agreed that they would disarm, and now if they say they're going to disarm, that's fine. If they say they're not going to disarm, those same countries will go and wipe them out. They don't even need Israel.
Yeah. Real trouble there for Hamas, real trouble for Iran. Look, he's not playing, if you haven't figured that out. Apparently we hit a drug den in Venezuela. Donald Trump said we hit a big facility in Venezuela in the drug fight. Major explosion in dock area, but declines to say whether military or CIA conducted the operation. Pretty important. This an expansion of the Venezuelan-focused campaign to include ground operations. So he made that comment a couple of days ago. But look, if you're a drug dealer, like Kevin O'Leary said, don't get on a boat with drugs. That's what I learned. That's what I would suggest. Don't be in a building where you're manufacturing illegal narcotics. I wouldn't be there. I wouldn't be there. Nope, no chance at all. Anyhow, let's see what else we got here. Oh, something else I mentioned earlier, and I want to mention this again. ICE, all-time record application numbers. Despite all the hate coming from the left, despite all the nonsense and all the static and all the grief, all-time records for people who want to defend this country. God bless America. Listen to this.
So we've had almost 221,000 new recruits or applicants that have applied to be new recruits. You would think that the staggering amount of violence against ICE special agents and deportation officers would decrease our recruiting, but it actually hasn't had that effect. I think what a lot of people want to do is they want to get into federal law enforcement. They want to work for a quality law enforcement agency, and that's what we're seeing here in this. But, it makes us feel better to know the fact that we have so many people behind us that would still want to join ICE and join the ICE mission, be a law enforcement officer, even though they're getting demonized and attacked every day. So it's definitely given us hope.
Yeah.
Acting Director.
Real hope. I mean, honestly. Record setting. And so that's one side of the coin, right? On the other side of the coin, you have those on the left who want to just make all these illegals legal. Just give them amnesty. And how do I know that's what they want? Because that's what the leader of the Democrats, or one of them, I don't know who the leader of the Democrats actually is. I don't think they know. But here's Chuck Schumer talking about giving blanket immunity to millions of illegal aliens. Listen.
Now more than ever, we're short of workers. We have a population that is not reproducing it on its own with the same level that it used to. The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers, and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here.
Seems like somebody had the flu there in the crowd, maybe. Heard somebody sneeze or wheeze. Oh, there it is. Anthony's not feeling well, apparently. Yeah. So there it is. We're going to put 2025 in the books. I'd like you to send me an email. What do you make of 2025? What are your hopes for 2026? What do you want to see? I want to see people indicted. I want to see people in Minnesota put in handcuffs, taken to jail, put on trial, and convicted for defrauding the American taxpayer. I want to see that in California and Maine and anywhere else it's happening. Because until you put high-level elected officials in jail, nothing will ever change. Nothing will ever change. We got to fix this thing. Thank God for Nick Shirley for exposing and put a bright, burning spotlight on fraud, because it wakes the rest of us up. I mean, we've always known there's fraud. There's always been fraud. But putting it out there for 150 million people to see on social media, ooh, that's big. All right, we'll wrap this thing, put a bow on it after this on the Steve Gruber Show. So here's a little slap in the face, Michigan, just before I take it out of here for the day. Anthony, I knew this. I had forgotten about it. Anthony points this out. The average price of a gallon of gas in Michigan has dropped to $2.77. Well, come Friday, add 21 cents to that, which will take you back to over $3 a gallon in a lot of places, $2.98. Why? Because the state of Michigan's tacking on another 21 cents a gallon starting January 1st, 2026. Congratulations. While Oklahoma's at $2.24, you're going to be at $3 or more. You know why? Because you've got lousy leaders in Lansing who want to tax you and tell you, well, we're fixing the roads. No, you're not. Drive through Ohio or Indiana or Pennsylvania or any other damn state. You'll see what good roads are like. Heck, go to Georgia. Got nice roads, go to Georgia. They spend $20 billion less annually than Michigan does in their budget. North Carolina, $20 billion less than Michigan. They have 500,000 more people and far better roads. But 21 cents, so we're going to go from $2.77.5 to $2.99. That'll be the average, which means gas will be over $3 a gallon for lots of folks come the first year. How do you feel about that, Anthony?
Pissed off.
Well, there you have it, boys and girls. He's not impressed with the... Does an increase in gas tax make you more or less likely to vote for a Democrat?
Less likely.
There we have it. Less likely to vote. More taxes, less services, more taxes, more fraud. Is Michigan... What's that?
All they do is rob my wallet.
Yeah. Welcome to the real world.
Bull crap.
Yeah. Climate change, Anthony.
I'm
Climate
moving
change.
to Tennessee.
Well, you can do the show from there. All right, fight the good fight, my friends, with 21 cents per gallon less in your pocket. Fight the good fight, keep the faith. God bless America. Remember, when you vote, only you can save America. Only you. We'll see you soon.